It was a sweltering June afternoon in Lekki, Lagos, when the incident occurred. Mr. and Mrs. Dayo Davies had just returned from a brief holiday to find their apartment in a state of disarray. As they stepped into their third-floor unit in the luxurious apartments, they were greeted with the pungent smell of damp plaster and the unsettling sight of water-stained ceilings. The property had sustained significant damage during a heavy storm that had struck Lagos a few days prior. The high winds and torrential rains had caused a leak in the roof, and the damage extended down to the Davies apartment. The elegant furnishings and pristine walls they had worked so hard to maintain were now marred by watermarks and mold. Mrs. Davies, a meticulous homemaker, gasped in horror. "Dayo, this is terrible. Look at the ceiling. And the carpet, it's ruined," she exclaimed, her voice tinged with distress. Mr. Davies, a composed and pragmatic man, placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I know, love, we'll sort this out. Let's call the property management company and report the damage immediately." The property management company had a reputation for being efficient but stern. Within minutes, Mr. Davies was on the phone with their assigned manager, Mr. Johnson. "Mr. Johnson, this is Dayo Davies from Unit 305. We've returned home to find significant water damage to our apartment. The ceiling is leaking, and there's water damage to our furnishings." Mr. Johnson, always brisk and businesslike, responded swiftly. "Mr. Davies, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll send a team over to assess the damage within the hour. We will need to get this resolved as soon as possible." True to his word, an hour later, a team from the property management company arrived at the apartment. They took detailed notes, photographs, and measurements of the affected areas. The lead assessor, a middle-aged man named Peter, spoke with the Davies after completing the inspection. "Mr. and Mrs. Davies, the damage is quite extensive. The roof needs repairs, and the interior damage will require thorough remediation. We'll need to replace parts of the ceiling, treat for mold, and possibly replace some of the carpeting and wall sections. Given the extent of the work, we estimate it will take up to 3 months to complete all necessary repairs." Mrs. Davies, her initial shock turning to concern, asked, 3 months? That's a long time. Where will we stay in the meantime?" Peter nodded understandingly. "I understand this is inconvenient. The property management company will arrange for temporary accommodation for you while the repairs are being carried out. We want to ensure that you are comfortable and that the work is done to the highest standard." Mr. Davies interjected, "What about our belongings? The furniture, the electronics, everything is at risk of further damage." Peter reassured them, "We will move your belongings to a secure storage facility until the repairs are complete. Our team will handle everything with care." The property management company team began coordinating the logistics of moving their belongings. The Davies were left to contemplate the next steps. They watched as workers carefully wrapped their furniture and packed their personal items. Mrs. Davies, sitting on the edge of their bed, which had already been stripped down, turned to her husband. "Dayo, this apartment is our home. I can't believe this is happening." He took her hand in his, squeezing it gently. "We'll get through this, Tola. It's just a setback. Once the repairs are done, we'll have our home back, good as new." Over the next few days, the Davies moved into a serviced apartment arranged by the property management company. It wasn't the same as their home, but it was comfortable and convenient. They made frequent visits to their apartment to check on the progress of the repairs. The work was indeed extensive. Contractors worked diligently, repairing the roof, treating and replacing the damaged sections of the ceiling, and thoroughly cleaning and sanitizing the apartment to remove any traces of mold. The Davies were impressed by the professionalism and dedication of the property management company team. 3 months later, as promised, the repairs were completed. The apartment looked as good as new, if not better. The fresh paint, new carpets, and repaired ceiling restored the apartment to its former glory. When Mr. and Mrs. Davies finally moved back in, they were filled with a sense of relief and gratitude. They invited Mr. Johnson and Peter over for a small thank-you gathering. Mrs. Davies, ever the gracious host, prepared a spread of local delicacies. "To new beginnings," Mr. Davies toasted, raising his glass, "and to the property management company for their unwavering support and professionalism." Mr. Johnson smiled. "We're glad we could help. Here's to many more happy years in your home." As they clinked glasses, the Davies knew that despite the ordeal, they had emerged stronger and more resilient. Their home was once again a sanctuary, a place where they could create new memories and continue their journey together.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Akinpelu, Bolaji Charles channel. Property management company faced a significant challenge when Mr. and Mrs. Dayo Davies reported excessive water damage to their property in Lekki, Lagos. The damage, caused by a severe storm, affected the roof and resulted in water leakage and mud issue in the Davies unit. Upon receiving complaints, property management company responded swiftly by dispatching an assessment team to evaluate the damage and develop a mediation plan. This inspection reviewed the need for comprehensive repair, including roof restoration, ceiling replacement, mud treatment, and carpet replacement. Property management company communicated transparently with Davies, estimating a 3-month timeline for the repairs and arranging temporary accommodation for them during this period. The property management team also took responsibility to securely storing Davies' belongings to prevent further damage. Throughout the repairs process, the property management company teams worked diligently, ensuring high standards of workmanship and customer satisfaction. Upon completion, the apartment was restored to its original condition, and the Davies were able to move back into their home with a sense of relief and gratitude. Lesson learned. 1. Prompt response. Swift action in assessing and addressing property damage is crucial to minimize further deterioration and maintain tenant trust. 2. Clear communication. Transparent communication regarding the scope of repair, timelines, and interim arrangements helps manage tenant expectation and reduce stress. 3. Comprehensive planning. Thorough planning and coordination with contractors ensure that repairs are completed efficiently and to a high standard. 4. Tenant support. Providing temporary accommodation and secure storage for tenant belongings during repairs demonstrate a commitment to tenant welfare and satisfaction. 5. Quality assurance. Maintaining high standards of workmanship and regular progress updates ensure that the final outcome meets or exceeds tenant expectation. By adhering to these principles, the property management company successfully navigated a challenging situation, reinforced their reputation for reliability and professionalism, and strengthened their relationship with their tenants. If you find this story helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel for more content on property, facility, and real estate management tips. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.